Well, all I have, they can just do it.
Yeah,
Here,
maybe I
hopefully they can hear us with that. Maybe put it back the way it was.
like turn it off.
May I? Okay. Well, we want them to be able to hear us. So.
That's not the English.
Marianne Davis said she's not going to be here, but there's no update. She doesn't have any updates. Yes.
Thank you, everyone. It's 1:01. I'd like to call the Lansdowne Woods of Virginia Community Association Board of Members meeting to order Wednesday, July 1, 2026. First order of business is to reconvene into open session. This morning we were in executive session to consider personnel matters, discuss and consider contracts, and discuss and consider pending or probable litigation. There were no decisions made in executive session. So with that, I will ask if there are any owner or resident comments on agenda items known. Yes, Chris, come up to the podium, announce your name and where you're from.
Morning, or good afternoon, rather. I'm Chris Light from Plymouth Ridge. Just wanted to comment on the agenda item, the landscape Riverview irrigation. Audit report, many report was, I think, very thorough. One item that could be added to the soaker hose option is automatic timers that you can program so they will automatically turn on or turn off the soaker hoses at a preferred whatever dates, whatever time you want. You can even get smart units that work with a smartphone. They can be set. It's also suggested if you use these to include pressure regulators, because these hoses work best at 10 to 25 pounds per square inch, a sediment filter, and a backflow preventer. You can do all of that, not counting the soaker hoses, for less than $200.
Thank you for that, Chris, but I don't see it on our agenda. Are there any other comments on agenda items only?
Yes.
Comment?
When under new business, it's item C, Riverview request for irrigation, pages 95 to 101.
Wrong agenda.
What board meeting is that?
Yeah, you're looking at the
Don't worry about it.
I'm here in defense of keeping that extra day that you more or less plan to eliminate from the bus. I drove for many years, but then when I got unable to drive, there are many of us who came here also because there was a bus, and when you're not able to do it anymore, we depend on that bus for medical, going to doctors and physical therapy and shopping. And the question I'm going to put up is priority. The fountain in the back of this building has been broken many times and cost a lot of money. Lots of the people there feel that it should have been more of a landscape area where people could sit and enjoy the beauty of the place. But the fountain doesn't, it's broken half the time. Now, the money spent on that fountain could be the money that we could use for that bus. The cost of that the fourth bus that you want to cut out. So I think that we need to think, what's more important, a fountain or the health of the people here who who really depend on that bus? Thank you so much. I didn't tell you my name, I'm Carmen Ross from Potomac Ridge.
Thank you, Carmen. Yes.
I'm back again. My name is Mark Magno and from Magnolia South. I went to last week's budget and finance and I went to budget and finance committee last week and I was in for a shock. You had a committee member, they brought up very short review on a bus. One of the committee members, I'm not giving his name, but I ended up biting my tongue to control my aggravation or whatever you want to call it. He wanted to put the bus 1 day a week and the rest of the time we can hire Uber. Do you know what that costs? One lady told me to go from here to Penny's was $50, $25 round trip. You have some of us that cannot carry a lot of packages, go to the stores maybe 2 times a week, 3 times a week. Okay, and then he brought up about the other bus facilities. One of them is paratransit. Now, Carmen went into looking at that. I had it when I lived on Long Island for my husband. Okay, very practical, but efficient, no. If you have a 9 o'clock doctor's appointment, you have to be there in your lobby an hour and a half at a time. A couple of times they forgot to pick up my husband. This is what you want us to do. Plus, you have to get a doctor's note from your medical doctor requesting, they have to approve it before you can get paratransit. Okay, so they talked about it back and forth, and I did the same thing with you last night. I asked you all, do you take the bus? Barry was the only one. That committee, nobody. Okay, and I went on a couple of things. I'm not going into detail. I don't want to take up a lot of time. But what happened is when the meeting was over, I left and I was taking the elevator to go down. One of the committee members approached me and he said he didn't have a clue on how the running of the bus is. That he thanked me for my presentation to let him know and the whole committee know what that bus really entails. Until you actually take the bus, you don't have any idea. My thing is, with all the expenditures that are going on all around us, I mean, I can even say, start cutting back on the employers of what you're giving them as far as a whole health package, 401, I'm not gonna go into it. You can save some money that way. But I asked Audra to take 1 day away from us, what will you be saving? And you weren't sure at the time, you gave me a figure, I'm not gonna repeat it. Okay? But if we have to go with, we're all one Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, that's when our doctors are in Deerfield. Monday, half of them are not here. Wednesday, we haven't had a Wednesday because that was always for trips. Okay, and some of the doctors are on Friday. So if you decide, please, do not go 1 day a week with this committee member. In fact, I told that whole committee, you're in for a rude awakening. You're gonna have people storming over here, complaining and screaming 1 day a week is not gonna help us. You have medical that people take, you have grocery shopping, and also socialization. You have some people that don't wanna stay in their complex, that want, and I even tell them, go out, take the bus, go for a cup of coffee, or buy something to be social on the bus. We have a lot of people that take the bus, we're always joking, helping each other on and off the bus, kidding around, you know. This is what the bus entails. So, that's my feedback, but thank you again for giving me the time to discuss.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't think 1 day is on the agenda. I think it's either 3 days or 4 days, but we'll discuss the savings.
But that committee member said he wanted 1 day a week.
Didn't make it to the board.
Well, Audra was there, she heard him.
Maria,
Good afternoon. I wrote to the board, my correspondence counters, the presentation resident comments that were made, building and finance. I'm looking at the issue very differently. I'm sorry, I don't think anybody wants to get rid of the bus. I read all the comments on the survey, that's not the consensus. But the issue is, how do we fund it in an equitable manner when LWVA has and is making disparate appeals to disparate groups here, okay? All right, so I'll explain. So the bus rider group is correct. They were told when they bought the condo that they'll have bus. Non-bus riders, including myself, I was marketed with a campaign that says, well, paint your own lifestyle. There's too much right now for me to go into it for the sake of time. But LWVA has made disparate claims, and you need to come to a conclusion, or that is a compromise that serves all residents. Now, there is one thing that I do agree with what I heard from the bus riders, and that's, well, why don't you look at other services? I agree. Maybe we, for months, and why don't we cut down hours on the pool? There is a difference. Senior mobility is so important that it's provided by law. And if anything, I'm here to provide the president with some resources that I've pulled together. 2 of them are from the Department of Transportation. One is called Enhanced Mobility of Seniors and Individuals with Disabilities. Another one is called, it's the CCA program inventory. So what that is that this is considered to be so important by federal and state law that you have grants and programs for mobility. Okay, I have another one, Virginia Medicaid. So I know some people here have put their assets into Medicaid trust. Well, you have a benefit here, you're entitled to free transportation. If you're on Medicaid, I don't know if you are, but okay, that's okay. So basically, I have written to the board on the 29th, and I've asked them to look into the paratransit and the on-demand program, which I have since learned more about, okay? So what are the roadblocks to that program? Because I think a compromise is, if I've never waited another number of days, but if you provide 2 days where you have a shuttle and it's stable and scheduled, you can start experimenting with an paratransit program. The paratransit program is not only for disabled persons, it's also for older persons. With what you were told about doctors, whether they prove, all you need to do is have a note from the doctor that tells.
thank you, Marina. You shared that transit information with us, and we are well aware of it. Your 3 minutes is up,
Well, I hope.
so I just wanted to thank you.
Okay, but I hope that you do look into the possibilities of how we could more equitably tap into resources because there's a funding source.
We will do that.
Okay, thank
And if
you.
you have some more information you want to share,
Thank you so much.
thanks. Is there anyone else who would like to have a comment on agenda items, only 3 minutes? Okay. With that, we will move on. Going to review and approve the minutes of the June 3rd, 2026 Board of Members meeting. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
So move to approve the minutes as amended.
As, that's right, as amended, we received a
Yeah.
copy this morning.
Passed out a copy.
Okay, is there, a second to that?
Second.
Any comments? Yes.
I want to amend the amended minutes. On the to dissolve the commercial amenities workroom was not proposed by myself. It was Dwayne that proposed that. Thank you.
Okay, so is there a motion to approve the amended minutes of? Thank you, Eric. Seconded by Don, thank you. All in favor? Unanimous? I'm abstaining. You're abstaining. That wasn't me.
Sorry.
And Audrey, we don't have a member on Zoom, do we?
No.
No, okay.
No, he's not here.
So David Sang is absent.
Well, you have his proxy.
Oh, I have his proxy. David votes yes. Next is the minutes of the June 18th, 2026 special Board of Members meeting. Do I hear a motion to approve those minutes?
Second.
Moved by Merrill, seconded by Wes. All in favor? Unanimous, I abstain with one abstention. And David Sang votes yes. Okay. Reports. Comments from officers. First up is me. Over the past couple of months, the board and management have been working with owners of Fountain Grill regarding the potential operation of the LWVA restaurant. We appreciate the time, professionalism, and good faith effort that everyone brought to the discussions throughout this process. Despite those efforts and extensive negotiations, the parties were ultimately unable to reach a mutually acceptable restaurant operating agreement. While we are disappointed that an agreement could not be reached, we wish the Fountain Grill team continued success. At this point, the board will take some time to evaluate the situation and determine the most appropriate path forward. We know many residents have been looking forward to the restaurant reopening, and we appreciate your patience throughout this process. We will provide additional information as the board determines the next steps. Thank you. Vice President, Wes, do you have any comments? No. Your Secretary, do you have any comments?
No.
Treasurer, David Sang. He doesn't. You present financials. They were in a different format.
Yeah, he asked for this new format to be put into the packet. It's actually Kathy Williams prepared the report. The Budget and Finance Committee had asked that he provide a detailed report for the CDs and when they expire and interest rates. And normally he just reports on the balances, but the balances for the month end prior are in Kathy's report already. So This is what he asked to be included for his report.
Okay. The Lansdowne Conservancy, Mary Ann Muller Davis is not here today, but she has informed us that there are no updates from the Lansdowne Conservancy since her last presentation. Next up is the Director of Activities, Donna Louise Carey. And Donna Louise is here.
Happy Wednesday, everyone. I hope you're reading your connector. Like stay connected in the neighborhood, just safe. I always like to remind you of a few things that the activities committee is working on. So this Saturday, we're going to have a 4th of July program. It begins at 11 a.m. Begins at 11 a.m. Sorry about that. The weekend kickoff, our Thursday events has a lot of momentum. Next week, we're hosting Larry Thomas. It's a new voice coming to our community. The following week, we have a crafting and cocktails event. Followed by the next Thursday, it's a big band, and the last Thursday of the month, we have breakfast for dinner with the Elmer guys. We've got some great trips out there, as you know, fantastic fitness program. Any questions?
No, thank you. Next up is Building and Grounds Committee, Marie Gay.
No, I'm,
No, I skipped.
we were looking at activities.
Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped.
Skip me. Okay, for my report, I report that the employee benefits open enrollment process was completed. New benefits start today, July 1. The process went smoothly. The fountain refurbishment project, the total project cost was what we initially anticipated. There were no overages. Thankfully, when they went in and opened up to do repairs, they didn't find anything additional that needed to be done. So that is some good news there that we didn't have to use any of the contingency funds. It looks really nice. So if you haven't been by there, please go by there and take a look at it. It's really pretty. Mary Brennan, our activities assistant, has tendered her resignation. She is going to be moving up north back home, where her family is. So her last day actually is gonna be July 9th, not the 8th. She recently changed that, so we're sorry to see her go, but we will be looking for a replacement for Mary. We have had some issues recently with the gatehouse personnel. There's been a lot of turnover. We're actively addressing it with the security contract management. So that's an ongoing thing. But just wanted to let you know there's a lot of turnover there currently at the gatehouse. Grounds look really good. The maintenance shed area was cleaned up. The crushed stone was put on certain areas of the walking trail, and that looks really good. The budget for 2027, we're starting that process, and we'll have for the Budget and Finance Committee meeting on July 28th, the first draft of the budget. I'll skip over Reserve Study Committee update and wait till we get to the committee reports. With reference to, we had a proposal from Yellowstone Landscape for $3,700 to do some landscape maintenance on a portion of the hillside behind Magnolias East. The Building and Grounds Committee did discuss it at their last meeting, and they are recommending we move forward with that. And I am planning on moving forward with that. It would be in the fall when we do that, barring any objections to the board. Plan to move forward with that. And then going forward, I'd like to see it included in the landscape maintenance contract, so that we're not having this discussion again every year or 6 months. Couple other things that aren't in the report. The community was sent out a warning e-blast a week or so ago. There's some scams that have been going around, not only by email, but by text. And the scammers are impersonating resident volunteers basically claiming that they need the assistance of the person that they're emailing or texting, asking for gift cards to be purchased or for bills to be paid and for money to be sent. So just a warning, if you've received anything like that, if you could forward it to me, I have been in touch with the Loudoun County Sheriff's Department and they asked for me to provide copies of anything that we get. And it's, just be vigilant if you get something like that and it's more likely it's a scam because we'll never ask a volunteer to pay for an invoice on Lansdowne's behalf or purchase gift cards or anything like that.
Okay.
And the website's looking good and we have, people's continuing to sign up for that. We just ask for everybody's patience with that as far as the posting of packages and agendas and things like that. It's been a learning curve for us. And there are some pages that still need to be updated. A lot of the club pages need to be updated because all of the content that was on the old website was migrated to the new website, but not necessarily up to date. So it's a process and ongoing.
Financials?
Oh, financial, sorry. Yes, this is reporting on the May financial statements. And for the month of May, there was an actual positive variance, year-to-date positive variance as well. 1,821 year-to-date positive variance. And the budget anticipated a positive variance of 158, so we're a little bit ahead. So that is some good news for a change, but as we move forward, we'll see how that shakes out. $1,800 surplus.
Roger?
I have two questions actually, Audra. On the building and grounds recommendation with, the hillside. When that was originally brought up at building and grounds, they were talking about doing that twice a year. And now it's late in the year, so I assume this one figure is for the one mowing. But if this gets put into the budget, is that for one time or twice a year?
Oh, is that one time?
No, that was just one time.
So,
That was the one time. There wasn't, they would, that $3,700, if we would have had it done earlier in the season, then we would revisit it in the fall for the same amount. But the intent was
Right.
always to do it and then include it as we renewed the contract. So.
right, it was originally presented as doing it twice,
Mhm.
but since it's late,
It's.
we'll do it once. But if you're putting it into the budget,
Mhm.
are you putting it as a one time a year expense or a twice a year expense?
One time,
Still just one,
Yeah.
okay.
because
And-
it would
and
depend on whether it's going to be in the spring or the fall, but it would be one time. Most likely it's going to be a fall time to clean up, to have things. No.
Sorry.
And just another real
Good.
quick comment, actually, as you're looking for a replacement for Mary, I think this might be a good place to get a more entry-level person who can do those things to help Donalise without it being, you know, a higher level salary, so that would be a good way to cut a few tens of thousands of dollars.
We'll certainly try.
Any other questions for Audra? Okay, now we will move on to the Activities Committee, Education.
Good afternoon, everyone. The LWVA Activities Committee meets on the second Friday of each month at 11 o'clock in the theater. Everyone is always invited to attend. In June, we had a lot of wonderful events, and I'm going to highlight a couple of the ones that we had. The community dinner on June the 4th was sold out, and everyone enjoyed the dinner catered by the Fountain Grill. And we all enjoyed the social time as well. The annual Health and Wellness Fair on June 5th had diverse exhibitor tables and was very well attended by residents. Many thanks to both Donalise and Patty for organizing this annual event. The 5th annual Literary Festival was also held in June with more than 40 writers and authors from Lansdowne Woods and from the region. It was fascinating meeting so many fascinating authors. Many thanks to Kathy Hughes and the LWBA Writing Group for putting this together. The weekend kickoff programs on Thursday afternoons and evenings are still very popular. The dance party with the Pop Chicks on June 11th was well attended and left very little room on the dance floor. The Greek and the Freak, an acoustical duo, were very entertaining on June 18th, and we learned how and why Suzanne and Steve earned their nicknames. A group of us traveled on the LWBA bus to Winchester on June 24th to see Guys and Dolls at the Shenandoah University Theater, where the cast put on an amazing show. Remember to read your connector to keep up with all the programs, trips, and club events in the future. Any questions?
Thank you, Peggy.
Welcome.
Next up is Building and Grounds, Marie Gay.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Building and Grounds met and projects ongoing, of course, the fountain. And if you haven't looked at it, it's beautiful. It's not green like the big one in DC. So we're blessed. We got our money's worth. We approved the upgrade to a patio at unit 118 behind Potomac Ridge. They want to level it, put down new paving, do improvements to it as much needed because it's kind of dangerous the way it is. That'll be a nice improvement for them. The retimbering of garden plots is coming up. And as has been mentioned, the hillside work is pending. And that is an ongoing issue, the hillside. We will not be meeting in July as we have no business to conduct. So the next meeting will be the second Thursday in August at 10 o'clock right here. All are welcome. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Marie. Next up is Budget and Finance. Very weird.
Budget and Finance met last week on June 23rd. Not a lot to report on. We put out financials from Audra. The committee discussed criteria for charging certain expenses to replacement reserves and also approved financing for the retimbering project. Next meeting, as Audra also mentioned, will be on July 28th, where we will begin to take up the 27th budget. Questions?
Thank you, Barry. Next up is the Communications Committee, Kathleen Hughes.
Hello, everyone. I will remind everyone that the Communications Committee meets every month on the second Tuesday at 1:30 in the theater, and we are down several members. We have no one from Blue Ridge. If someone is here from Blue Ridge, you might consider helping us out with 2 new members. And we need people because we have quite a number of articles that we write, and that will help Elise out during this time of Mary leaving. We really appreciated Mary's help with communications. And thanks to Peggy for mentioning the literary festivals. I know it wasn't under the auspices of communications, but I will say that I was able to get mention of it before it happened in both Loud Times Mirror and in Loud Now. Nice articles about Lansdowne Woods and its authors and local people coming. So we had a nice full house and it was a lot of fun. So thank you very much.
Any questions for Kathleen? Well, I'm not gonna be seated. Thank you, Kathleen. And next up is the External Communications Working Group. There you have.
Good afternoon, everyone. Well, we've been very busy again. As you know, we got website launched. And so we're in the process now of talking about how to continue with that situation and where we're going with reference to that. The new resident survey that we've been working on, hopefully we will have Survey Monkey up and running here and be able to start that program next month with the hopes of getting more return and not bothering the manager so much in the building to get us the information. So it will just come automatically to us. The last thing we're working on and hope to get started now that Jack Kelly has had his knee surgery is some new videos for the website. So that is up and coming on our agenda. And we are looking forward to getting some new exciting videos up for the website. We met on June 17th in the theater, and we will have 2 meetings this month coming up. We're meeting at 1 o'clock on July 10th in the club room, and again on the 15th, Wednesday the 15th, in the theater at 1 o'clock. Any questions?
You are giving Jack time to rehab, right?
Pardon?
You are giving Jack time to rehab.
Yes, well, I hope so. I see him out and about walking the dog. He can walk the dog. I know he can walk the dog.
All right, next up is the Policy Resolution Working Group. Wes Henderson is going to give it to me.
Yes, good afternoon. The Policy Resolution Work Group met on June 9th. And we reviewed the changes to policy resolution number 20, reserves for capital components, and approved that to be sent to the BOM through some route, I guess, or went somewhere else to do it.
Budget and Finance Committee's talking about it and they asked some questions about it, so
Okay.
maybe next month it'll come to the board.
Okay, and we also reviewed the changes for policy resolution 33, purchases of goods and procurement services and competitive bidding, and that's in our packet today. The next meeting we have will be at on June 14th, July 14th, at 1 p.m. Somewhere.
I think it's in the community room. Yeah.
Thank you, Wes. All right, next up is the Reserve Study Committee.
I can give an update. I think Josh is here. The Reserve Study Committee, they met last week as well as the Budget and Finance, and they completed their initial review of the draft of the 2026 study and met with the reserve analyst extensively. The initial funding recommendation for the draft report is approximately a 12% increase in reserve contributions for 2027. But the committee did ask for him to go back and make some revisions, including increasing the assumption for the interest rate and decreasing the funding threshold. And he's going to provide us with a revised report, and they will meet again in July. I think it may be the 22nd. There will be a meeting.
It's 27.
It is the 22nd. Okay, so they'll be meeting again this month to look at the second draft.
Very good. Thank you. Yes, question from the mayor.
Thank you. What inflation rate were they using in that study?
Inflation. I don't remember. I remember the interest rate, but I don't remember the inflation rate. Maybe 4%. But I can't see the 2.5 or 3.5. Did they? That was the interest. That was interest. So I'm sorry. I don't.
Shoot us a note, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, sure.
Okay, any other questions for Audra regarding the replacement reserve study? And with that, we'll move on to correspondence to the board members. There was, there were about half dozen communications relating to the bus shuttle service, all of which have been taken into serious consideration by the board. And with that, I think that would lead us right into unfinished business, which the first topic of unfinished business is shuttle bus service. So do you want to lead us into those discussions?
Well, I've given you a lot of information here, a copy of the survey results for one thing, and all of the comments that were received. As well as you have the things that came in, under correspondence. A copy of the passenger counts, for the past 5 months. We'll show you the different time slots and each time the bus comes around and how many people were on the bus. My recommendation, as you can see in the proposed resolution, is that that the board consider reducing the schedule from 4 days a week to 3 days per week, operating on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. The Budget and Finance Committee, they did talk about this topic, and several of the Budget Finance Committee members were advocating for a working group to be set up. So that is another option as well, if you feel there's additional study that needs to be made on this. That was their unofficial recommendations, but they were committee members that were advocating for that. I wouldn't be ready today to recommend a specific contractor to you today, because there's still some vetting that needs to be done with regards to the contractors. So in the meantime, we can go month to month with Chariots for Hire while we review that, but I kind of wanted to hone in on, are we keeping the 4-day-a-week schedule or reducing the 3 days per week? Or some other solution?
Are there any questions? We want to pose?
I was just gonna move purpose of the discussion or resolution on page 105. Because given the alternatives that I was going to move the resolution that Audra has proposed, specifically that we move that the board of members approve changing the LWVA shuttle service schedule from 4 days per week to 3 days per week, operating on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. The board further authorizes management to continue shuttle service with Chariots for Hire on a month-to-month basis until a new transportation services agreement is approved and executed. Management shall return to the board with a recommendation for vendor selection and contract as well.
There's a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Jury, what did he say? Any discussion? No.
My wife and I really live a very idyllic life here at LWVA, and we are most appreciative of it. We don't ride the bus regularly, certainly. If we want to go out to dinner, we just drive. If we want to go to the grocery store, we drive. If we want to go out to entertainment or shopping, we drive. I am aware, however, that we have other residents who don't drive. And I've spoken to a few, and I know that they, by comparison, lead a less idyllic life. Some of them go to the grocery store 2 times a week, some even 3, because they're limited with how much they can carry on and off the bus in one trip. They depend on that bus to get to shopping and to get to medical appointments. I learned a long time ago that it's better to value people with dollars And for that reason, I will vote against this measure. I would keep it at 4 days a week. That's my 2 cents worth.
Right. Several months ago, I talked to the person in charge of Loudoun County Transportation. As many of you know, they have a brand new point-to-point system that they're trying out in Leesburg and now in Sterling. And he told me this was continuing at a pretty rapid rate. There's smaller buses that actually they go point to point. You order them and they come and they take you where you're going. So I just want us to make sure that we keep in touch with him and try to I know I've talked to him and I know Mr. Turner's talked to him also about including our area into that program. And I think we're probably next on the list, but of course he would commit as to what he would.
That's Wes. Again, I'm not a bus rider. In fact, the bus doesn't even stop at the overlook. Drive right on by, even if you're standing out there. So, fortunately, none of our residents are riders yet, but some may be. I think the bus service is an important amenity. And I hate to see us degrade any amenity. I also am in favor for keeping it at 4 days a week instead of the 3 days a week. And if we do go month to month for Church of Hire where we negotiate this contract, I would like to put a time limit, 3 months or something else. So we get a sense of urgency of getting a new contract in place. Otherwise, we could just string out for a long time. I've seen a lot of our contracts, it's thrown out for months after months after months. So let's put a sense of urgency on it, get a new vendor in. Of the initial bids that came in, and I know they're not all vetted yet, there could be a cost saving, even a substantial cost saving, keeping 4 days a week and still lower the amount of money you get to put out. Maybe changing vendors, whether it's a Church of Hire, I don't know who the vendors are in the different proposals. I just saw A, B, C, D, and one was definitely wrong. I think it may be worth doing a change if we can save money that way. That way we don't have to reduce the service. Because as it was mentioned in one of our correspondence letters, I believe, is that once we reduce the service, it's so hard to get it back.
Question, can you make me a substitute motion to supersede this one? Now,
We're in discussion.
okay.
I'm just doing discussion.
Okay.
Like Merrill says, the current motion on the table, I'll decline on that. Or vote no on it. But we could.
No, the only reason I raised the question is point of order is it would make sense to vote, because I don't have a sense of how to vote for what feels, to vote first on a motion to keep the present service. If that's defeated, we would then vote on 3 days. If that's defeated, then we have to plan.
I think we should have discussion before we vote.
I'm wondering if maybe we should just vote to extend it on month to month, and I agree with the time frame because you just can't delay. And if the decision 3 or 4 is gonna be easier if we like one of the other vendors that's quite a bit cheaper, so I'm wondering if we're not feeling sure, it's deciding that.
2 different bids though. If
Right,
you go
but-
for 4 days or 3 days.
Right, but I think I think it's better to see what options we have, do we like them? There was one bid that was quite a bit lower, so it would be easy to keep that in 4 days as opposed to if we didn't like them. You know, so I just think it's premature to decide that. We should just go month until we have more information.
Could we get bids for both? A 3-day schedule and a 4-day schedule?
We have,
You have
We
it.
do.
it's here.
Oh, there.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I agree with a lot of what you guys are saying, but, you know, right now, may not be the best time to drop back to a 3-day schedule when we have what appears to be a very good option here. But I would hate to jump into that without learning a little bit more about this company, because they are considerably less. We could continue with what we have and still save maybe $20,000. So I would like to leave things as they are until we've checked out this other company. And then make a decision about the number of days.
Okay, I had a question about the working group that Budget and Finance was talking about. Was their mission be to explore other bus service options other than our shuttle bus, such as the one that introduced?
I'm not sure what their mission would be. I mean, they talked about not having enough information, wanting to know, because the person, I think who brought it up, didn't have any idea about how the bus service here works and how many people use it and all that stuff. And this is what management's been working on, is getting the survey results and getting the numbers to provide. So I'm not sure what additional work the working group could do with regards to the bus contract. They could maybe come up with some alternative solutions and educate the community. That's a communication thing. That's not gonna be in replacement of our internal bus system.
You certainly don't need a working group for what I was talking about. That's a phone call to the fellow who runs the department.
Marina has offered other options as well. I don't know if we want a working group explore all the options, just so we're knowledgeable.
Call the question.
Or that, or some of these additional services can overlap until they're adopted by the residents. Because if we cut back on services and rely on something that may or may not work, that's bad. And the work group would just then bring things out. Cost is money.
Thank you. 6 months.
Wayne, can I amend the, I don't know for order, but Mary will help me. Can I amend the motion to just vote on keeping the present service and not deciding phase?
But we can vote on the one.
Oh, okay.
No,
Sorry.
then we can.
I'll accept the amendment, though.
Yes, you may amend.
I mean, I'm okay, I think logically that's the vote we should take first. This frankly was, I thought might be for the majority of the board. I don't want to lose the service. I certainly prefer the 4 days, the 3 days, so I don't have any problem accepting that amendment.
So the amendment is,
That the amendment is that we continue the present service for a month-to-month basis. And decide later on the number of days and
For a period.
for a 3-month period.
Yes.
Yes. That's my
So we
motion.
can do new contract before,
Yes.
Yes.
Let's see the options.
or not to exceed.
Not to see.
Okay, so the new motion is.
The new motion is that we extend, move that the board of members approve, no, wait a minute. The board authorizes management to continue shuttle service with carries of hire on a month-to-month basis until a new transportation service agreement is approved and executed for a period not to exceed 3 months.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Otherwise we'll vote.
Did he remove the other motion? I'm still.
He amended
He
it.
amended. He amended.
I didn't hear that part.
All in favor? Okay, very good, unanimous.
This is 4 days, right?
So this is leaving it alone. This being left alone for the time being. We're gonna do, some more vetting of the contractors.
The original motion, 4 days.
And then talk about it.
There's 4 days and that,
4 days, okay.
and
They're gonna get back.
next, unfinished business, changes to policy resolution number 33, purchasing goods, procurement of services, and competitive bidding. We found on page 126 of our packet.
The first resolution you see on 126 to 130 is the current resolution as it is today. And then starting on page 131 is the recommended draft of the revised agreement. We added some definitions in there of what a routine operational expense is, what are non-routine expenses. What is small purchases, small purchase threshold, meaning $10,000. And some of the questions that came up at the last board meeting. We hope this addresses those questions. But we'll find out momentarily.
I move to approve the proposed amended and restated policy resolution 33, purchases of goods, procurements of services, and competitive bidding.
Seconded by Barry.
Well, we ran it over in detail.
Very proud of your work.
Yes. Cleared up all the problems.
All in favor? Unanimous. Policy resolution 33 is approved. Alright, now we're going to review the feedback on the snow and ice removal coordination and cost sharing agreement and determine next steps.
So we have sorry. At the board meeting in May, the board asked management to distribute the draft of the agreement to the condo associations for their review and comment, and so you have all the feedback in the packet from each of the associations. Except for Overlook, I'm assuming we're okay with it. So where do we go from here? My concern is that we still may be too far apart on some of the items. You know, certainly some of the things here, the proposed changes, I think are reasonable too. But I think we're kind of missing the point of this. We're not trying to change the process. We're just trying to document what's been done for the last 25 plus years. So I have asked Susie to get pricing, and whether we use it or not, doesn't matter, but just to go ahead and find out how much it would cost if we were to have to outsource to a third party snow removal company. Because absent us, all of the various entities coming to an agreement, I don't see any alternative.
As I recall, it was originally presented as a combined resolution for the snow removal and the watering. And the watering got to be a little challenging. So we decided to split it between the watering, which would be the more challenging resolution. And have the snow removal stand alone, because that's been in existence since Lansdowne Woods has been in existence, which I thought was going to be a no-brainer. What happened?
May I, you say that this has been in existence for 25 plus years, but what's really been in existence for 25 plus years is every building taking care of itself. We've done the areas in, around the building, the doggy areas, the walkways, we've done all of that. And now we're being asked to do more at the expense of our employees, and I think that's where the problem is. And I like the fact that you brought up here to look at pricing for alternative snow removal services, because maybe that's what we really should be doing. Let a snow removal company take care of it. Yes, we're going to pay for it, but we're paying for it. When our engineers aren't doing the job, in the building, when they're out there doing the snow removal, we're paying for it. When our engineers spend 3 nights days and nights during those big snowstorm we had this year, we're paying for that. So overall, maybe we're better off just getting a company to do it. The years that we don't have any expenses, we don't have any expenses. The years that they're big, they're not going to hit the buildings, harder than they would LWDA. Perhaps it can be set up so that assessments that go into that account can accrue to a certain level so that the lean years were fine, the busy years, we have the money to do it. But the landscaping company providing snow removal is not the best route, in my opinion. Their people aren't necessarily trained on how to use a snow plow. I know in our neighborhood, they push snow behind the cars, which is inevitable to a certain degree, but a professional snowplow driver knows how to clear better than what's done. And maybe we can come out ahead with something like that and this will take care of every one of these issues.
Is this policy just for the sidewalks? The engineers doing the sidewalks?
Yeah.
And what, can you give an example of how we're asking the engineers to do more?
Well, we're being asked to cover other areas. If people aren't able to get in for whatever reason, we're being asked to send our engineers to help in those buildings. The area around our building has been expanded to other areas as well. And they are basically on call to help where they're needed when there's a snowstorm. So that's more than what they've done in the past.
I think the helping other buildings where needed has always happened.
It has.
So that's not an addition. You're saying you're being asked to help in other areas, and that didn't happen before, but that is the case now. I mean, that's always been the case. I mean, we work as a team.
I think we've always worked well as a team. And we've helped out where we needed to help out, but we're making this such a restrictive document that you have to do these things now. We're buying our own equipment, but we have to lend it out if necessary. If our employee is injured doing the snow removal, yes, we have workman's comp. But if they're spending 6 hours outside instead of 4 hours outside and they get hurt, who is that hurting? It's hurting the building because their employee isn't going to be available to them anymore. Our building engineers have huge responsibilities. When we have heavy snows, one of their jobs is to be on the roof and clear the vents and clear away problems that could occur from those heavy snowfalls. They have to be available to take care of the buildings. We pay them. We pay them more than what we would be paying a laborer to come in and do that sort of work. And I'm not sure it's money well spent.
So your alternative would be,
Well, I think we should look into what it is going to cost. And that's what the resolution is here, to look at alternative ways to take care of the snow removal without using our engineers. And quite frankly, Riverview has no problem with what we've always done. Our engineers are really good about getting out there and making sure that everything is safe. That's high priority for them. But they're limited, we're limited in what we're willing to allow them to be required to do.
any discussion? You don't have emotions.
What you'd asked about what we read here, so we haven't had a motion. I'll make the motion that's here. To direct management to obtain pricing for alternative snow removal services for the condominium areas. Upon receipt of that information, the board shall determine whether to continue pursuing a coordinated snow removal agreement or adopt an alternative service model.
I second that.
I made the motion.
Okay, any further discussion?
Yeah, I read through there and I'm. Like Audrey already pointed out that there's a lot of, adjustments to the thing, and most of them were minor. I thought they were, you know, a reasonable compromise. I'm not sure what we're unable to reach on, which points they are. Because I went through it, and as I saw the Riverbend copy come in and read through that detail, they had all their adjustments. A lot of it was just wordsmithing. But the big part, I think, is that if engineers from my building help out some other building, that other building pays for their salary during that time frame. It was like a cost sharing. If I have to say my engineers don't show up and I have to get help from somebody else, I have to cover their cost while they help out clean my building. That makes practical sense. That was the only thing I thought that might be an issue.
I think one thing was that Riverview had suggested that the labor cost should be the responsibility of Lansdowne Woods. So that is
Well,
an accounting issue. That would be, depending on the scenario, possibly very difficult.
that's outside of their particular assigned area. Okay,
No, I think they're saying
all,
hours available to Lansdowne Woods. Which is, it makes things difficult because the engineers are already working full-time there at the buildings. So if it snows at the beginning of a pay period and we force them to go into overtime, who's paying for that? Or if it's, then they're gonna have to keep track of, well, I spent 15 minutes putting salt on the sidewalks on this day. And it just becomes.
no, I understood it as, was I wrong in understanding that it was beyond their designated clearing areas? And say, for some reason, Magnolia's engineers didn't come in. Or weren't able to get in, and they needed help. They put the call of help out to the other engineer, they come down, but they pick up their tab after they completed their area.
That's not the way I read it.
So if you read the summary, it says snow removal arrangement for our community has worked well for 20+ years. With each building accepting responsibility for the safety of their residents by keeping public areas clear of snow and ice. This arrangement does not need to be altered. What do need to be in place are procedures for non-typical situations, such as extreme weather conditions or engineers not being able to make their way into work. A plan anticipating these problems and the costs associated with them must be in place. So you have a surprise snowstorm. And our engineers can't get in. The 4 of them who do, are they going to clear the neighborhood? The entire area? You have one of these 3-day storms that goes on and on, where our people have to be here during that time. But, they're human beings, they do not have unlimited energy and strength. All of this cannot be placed upon them. I think we need alternatives for these things. I think we need to have snow removal companies that are ready to come in and take care of the snow and ice removal. If you need help with the common area, you need help with the common area. But you have right now 3 people to do that. The engineers in our buildings are taking care of our buildings, but there are other circumstances where we do require more help than what our engineers can give, or should be asked to give.
Essentially, you're saying is maybe we should have snow removal people that clear the parking lots, maybe also supplement clearing of the sidewalk. I thought they did that now. Or they always
Yeah,
do
I
the
mean,
bond.
if we have to call in a contractor, we call in a contractor to do, and we have in the past. If we're not able to get the coverage that we need with the engineers, and I thought there was some provision in here that did allow for that. I could be wrong, it might have been one of the previous versions.
God, I thought the guys that cleared the parking lot could supplement and do shoveling if they needed to.
Well, I mean-
Our own employees would do all the shoveling.
One of the other things is that if our engineers don't show up, how are we being charged for that? It says in here that we will be assessed the money. To, how much? Nothing here is firm, nothing says exactly what it is. Or even close to what it's going to cost, so it's just kind of open-ended.
Or maybe we put a dollar figure there that if someone has to help somewhere else, they get billed at such and such a flat rate, regardless of the individual, I don't know.
So one trouble you have is that you can't just order snow removal people when it snows. It doesn't work, you know. You have to have all that in place beforehand or they won't show up. They're going to other buildings. So
Well, that's
why don't we take this resolution as it is and do a little bit more research on it, but I don't quite understand the big issues and
Well, why don't we do cost comparison? By, what it would cost to have the snow removal company just take care of it, that eliminates all the problems. And see how much money it's actually going to cost us, and if there is any real difference between what we're already paying. Most places have companies who come in and do that work, and it's a huge part of their budget. And we certainly want to keep things under control, but this only happens every so many years. So we can accumulate money for that.
The directing.
but we've got a proposal on the table. I don't know if we have a second.
Yes, the second.
It was second.
Yes, you second, I second.
So to readdress the motion on the table, move to the recommendation to obtain pricing for alternative snow removal services for the condominium areas. Upon receipt of that information, the board shall determine whether to continue pursuing a coordinated snow removal agreement or adopt an alternative service model. All in favor of that? Unanimous. Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to new business, garden plots retimbering project. Page 153 of that. This is a proposal for. I guess it's already sure. Better to do the motion.
Move to approve the proposal from David R.R. Construction for the retimbering of the garden plot behind Potomac Ridge. The work to be completed in fall 2026, the cost of $17,360 to be paid with placement reserve funds.
Are you making a motion?
Yes. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Barry. Discussion? It's a lot cheaper than Yellowstone, that's for sure. It's just Potomac Ridge because that's those lots are not in question.
Correct.
And Objections or concurrences or discussion, otherwise we go to vote.
All the package.
Okay. All in favor? Unanimous, David R. Construction. Next, the new business is the architectural design review. Summit Ridge Unit 1-8, something 159. We gave us a little snapshot of that earlier, it's just a few bluestone stepping stones, which are one of the units on ground floor of the Summit Ridge. It's pretty up and make that grassy area a little more useful.
I'll move to approve the request submitted. I move to approve the request submitted by the owner of Potomac Bridge Unit 118 to install bluestone stepping stones within the limited common element yard to the unit in accordance with the plan submitted by the.
Second,
Second.
Andrea, all in favor?
Before you,
Yes, question?
one thing in here, they don't have the additional insured on the certificate of liability insurance. It's on page 165. Generally, you would buy that in every cast,
They do down here.
or do they?
Certificate holder down at the bottom of the page.
Oh, all the way to the bottom. It's not where it always is. Okay, I apologize.
Okay. Yes, Tom.
No, I was gonna say aye.
All in favor, no question. All in favor. Eric?
So Gina.
Next, review the first draft of policy resolution number 41, responsibility for underground utility structure. This is an offshoot of utilities discussion we had last month regarding the notice, where this was not responsible for all that. Their motion.
Barry should read this.
I'll make the motion. Move that the board members adopt policy resolution number 41. Responsibility for the underground utility infrastructure as presented or amended, establishing the board's interpretation of underground utility infrastructure located within LWBA common area is the responsibility of LWBA up to the building footprint. And further recognizing that this resolution is intended as an administrative policy and interpretation of the governing documents and not as an amendment declaration.
Second.
Thank you, Don. Any discussion? Wes?
Yeah, I just want to note that this did not go through the policy resolution work group. And so hopefully everybody's read it carefully. But I do have a question on paragraph 3C, which is a maintenance responsibility policy. And C, at the end of the sentence, or end of that paragraph, it says, or located beyond the exterior footprint. Well, actually, where we go paragraph, responsibility for utility infrastructure, piping, equipment fixtures, systems, and components located within a building, attached to a building, or located beyond the exterior footprint of the building shall remain the responsibility of the condominium association responsible for that building unless otherwise provided in the governing documents. So you're saying everything inside the building, but then you have the or located beyond the exterior of the footprint. I thought the documents was the footprint, was the area that where we're talking about responsibility of. So the or located beyond the exterior footprint doesn't belong. Is that correct?
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, maybe it should be unless otherwise provided in this. Ordinance. Or just take it out.
Well, it says that, essentially it says that everything inside the building belongs to the building. But then you have more located beyond the exterior of the footprint of the building. That part doesn't fit.
Maybe it should say the meter, no, because not all the meters are gonna be at the building.
You just have to cross out, we're located beyond the exterior footprint.
Yeah.
That's for the public, okay. That's a special. Yes, I'm sorry, page 172.
Yes.
I read and highlighted that exact section as too broad. I would suggest we send this to a policy working group and have them go over it, because I believe there is need for some additional wording here. I think paragraph C should say, we're responsible for utility infrastructure, piping, equipment, fixtures, systems, and components located within the building and attached to the building. No problem there. I think there should be another section inserted there, and this isn't the place to work it out. But there should be something in there that says, that covers things like the armature controlling access to the garage is outside the footprint of the building, but is, in my opinion, legitimately the building's responsibility. In the case of the Magnolias, we also have responsibility for the canopies that extend in front of our building and connect our two buildings, so we have covered walkways between. There are things outside the footprint of the building that the condominium associations should be responsible. And there needs to be a paragraph here that acknowledges that. But I believe they need to be negotiated individually with each building, because the buildings are different. You know, our negotiation with LWVA would have the canopies. Anybody else's wouldn't. Everybody's would have the armature controlling entrance to their garage. Although you know, doesn't have a garage. So I think those exceptions are not numerous and they need to be negotiated with the individual associations. But my real suggestion is we send this back to the policy review group and have them chew on it.
This policy resolution is specific to underground utilities. So we
Not-
wouldn't,
Not with that addition, that. Not with an addition that's saying that the associations, the building associations or condo associations are responsible for items located beyond the exterior footprint of the building.
oh, no, that. I
Then you just take
scratched
that
out.
sentence out.
I've scratched that out. But putting the armature and the canopies in this agreement
It
is,
doesn't belong in this agreement.
right.
It should be done individually with each association.
Oh, okay, I thought you were saying there should be something else within this
You
agreement.
know. I've been biting my tongue when we were talking about the snow removal. It's kind of like herding cats. Trying to. Now, all the associations agree to exactly the same thing is very difficult. The only way you can herd cats is one at a time. You know, it is, so. I think this agreement is fine as long as it says. LWVA is responsible for all underground utilities outside the footprint of the buildings. As soon as you try to take it further than that, I think you're getting into herding cats and it should be done building association by association, but yeah, as far as the motion that was made, I will be voting against it.
Well, if we just eliminate paragraph C entirely, we don't address the inside, the formula, the fixtures, all that stuff, then it. I think this fits for the utility part, because as I mentioned, it's everything outside they're doing, their hand.
If paragraph C is removed in its entirety, I have no problem with it.
You still feel we should send it back and working group, just since they didn't get a shot at it.
I think that's an appropriate action. You know, we've bypassed them in this one, and I don't see why, but I'd be happy sending it back to them.
I think we can table this motion and just refer to the policy working group. You know, the further recommendation is what.
Okay.
Barry.
Very dangerous.
So you want to amend that motion to forward to the policy working group?
Correct.
Is there a second to that amended?
Who made, so Barry. you-
Barry, and then
Barry.
Merrill, I'll give a vote. All in favor? Good. Carry through this, you know.
More.
Next, evaluation of the 2021 strategic plan and determine the next steps. Like every 5 years, we do a strategic plan update.
If the board deems it necessary, according to the new strategic planning or the strategic planning resolution that was approved last month. And it has been 5 years, so it should at least be reviewed.
Yeah.
5 years sure does go by fast.
Move to establish a strategic planning group in accordance with policy resolution 23. For the purpose of reviewing and updating the 2021 strategic plan. Request each member, condominium association and the visitors appoint one owner or resident to serve on the group. And direct management to present the proposed appointments to the board for approval.
Second.
Okay. Okay. Any discussion on this? All fair? That's the end. All right, is there any owner or resident, comments, open forum? Yes, I'm up to the podium, identify. Just up and ready from? Sorry, Doris.
I am not from Magnolia South. I want to thank the board with all my heart. I am, I think, outspoken person for all the residents that ride the bus. A lot of times I tell them, do you know there's no bus on Friday? They don't know. I said, you got an email. Some don't have a phone number, a cell number, so they don't really know what's going on. And I am like the spokesperson with the bus riders. But I want to thank you again for, working together, and whatever you decide, I guess we're all gonna accept it. My question is it gonna be 3 months, still 4 days a week?
Yes.
Okay, and then when you finally decide, I'm guessing a notice will go out or an email or something.
Well, yeah, it'll come to the board. And just to clarify, yes, up to 3 months. So in the meantime, nothing's changing.
Nothing's gonna change.
So, but it'll go through the normal process. Once we complete vetting of the different contractors and management makes a recommendation from there. It'll go through budget and finance and then back to the board. And that will be announced just like any other
Right,
decision.
because they're probably gonna ask me when I go on the bus tomorrow what happened. And I'll just
Yeah,
tell.
just tell them for now, the service is remaining the same and we're gonna continue to analyze the options, but you,
Putting the bids.
yeah,
Yeah, see, I'm the spokesperson, a lot of people cannot walk over James. You know, and I try to inform them what's going on, so they look at me, you know, for the answers. And thank you very much.
Horace.
For Jenny, I'm Rich. I have to tell you, I had to scramble writing this, discovered about the restaurant situation. I have to tell you, I'm extremely disappointed to hear that the negotiation have failed and that can't come to a stop. Many residents have been looking forward to having quality restaurants in our community. We were led to believe that meaningful progress had been made. And now we find ourselves back where we were stuck. If these negotiations ended because the terms being offered made it impossible for the reputable operator to succeed, some hard questions. We need to transparency, we need to understand what happened, why it happened, and what the plan is going forward. Our community deserves leadership that is focused on finding solutions, not creating obstacles. We need a process that protects the association while also giving a restaurant a realistic opportunity to invest, operate successfully, and become a long-term part of our community. I think we agree with that. I urge everyone involved to put personal agendas aside, return to the table, and work towards an agreement that benefits all of Lansdowne roots. Continuing to let this opportunity to slip away, continuing to let this opportunity to slip away is just not acceptable.
Yes.
My name is Joe, I live in Riverview, and I don't know if I'm allowed to ask questions here, but how long have we had the bus?
You're closer to the mic, please.
How long have we had the bus service? Has it changed in usage or cost or what was that? Just like the restaurant, usage changed, cost changed, all that. So I just want to clarify, I didn't know if it was, maybe we did that 10 years ago or, you know, this community has changed so much from 20 years ago to now and going forward. And then back to the snow removal, water, watering of the plants. We're not allowed to water the plants anymore. There's no volunteer watering group anymore. Is that what I heard recently? But you, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Our insurance carrier had a problem with that.
Does the insurance carrier have a problem with us putting snow shovels and salt there for us to use? Because during the last snowstorm, this is just me, because I'm out every day and I have to go to work. But I was out there doing it for me and a few other people. I cleared 2 dog plots, not have a dog anymore. Okay, so I don't get this insurance thing when they pick and choose these things. And I know you guys have dealt with it and I can't come to all these meetings, unfortunately. And this is not, I so appreciate the time and effort that this has taken. But that does not make any sense to me, because during the last snowstorm, me and another gentleman were out there shoveling, nobody has a problem with it. Sean and William and all the other engineers, this is not the driveway at home that we're clearing out. This is a huge property and there's hills and it's, you have one driveway, if it's 25, 30, 40 feet long, you can take all day to do it because it's just for you. But
some of these, we think it's a flat property, but I guarantee you that it is not flat. When they push the snow up the hill, and then for the next 4 months, it melts and then freezes in the morning because it runs downhill. And we're paying William $15 an hour. That's a stupid comment. I had no idea, okay? But I know that these snow removal companies, like you said, are not gonna show up if they're not on contract. Most of the time. You might get lucky, but you are not gonna let anybody come in here and just, hey, just start shoveling. You won't even let us do it. You won't let us water the plants. So how are you gonna let somebody come in and shovel on the fly? That's not gonna happen. You're not gonna find people to do that. You need to set it up. And if it's once a year, it happens once a year or twice a year, great. If it doesn't happen for 4 years, that's even better for everybody here. I was just trying to get clarification on some of those things, especially the watering of the plants that we can't do anymore because insurance thinks we may hurt ourselves.
That's a tough one. We've been.
I know that, like I missed all the comments, so I just heard about that a while ago, like. We have steps in our back of Riverview that they're not steps, I'm told, they're water mitigation platforms. We go up and down the platforms without a rail, and the insurance company doesn't have a problem. So, have a good day.
Yes. I'm Paul Dunham from Blue Ridge. I think we jumped the gun about a month ago when we dissolved the commercial amenities group because they should be back at work right now, trying to figure out who it is we're gonna get. Now, I think everybody was blindsided when we heard that that had fallen through. And everybody wants to know right now what is getting ready to happen. I don't hear any plans to do that. Yeah, we'll work on it soon, but if we still had a commercial amenities group, I think they would be meeting tomorrow or last week or whenever they found out this was going south. So I was kind of surprised when it did get dissolved, and I thought it was a bad idea because we didn't have anybody in the restaurant yet, but that's my 2 cents. I don't have any idea if we have anybody even in our mind collectively who might come in here. So that's my comment. Yes, Chris.
I believe this was on the agenda. The question, didn't we hire a consultant to assist us in the restaurant?
Yeah.
Finding and negotiating?
Yes.
What happened to it, him, or whatever? And are we maybe considering, since they didn't work out so well the last time, or did they? Just a question.
We negotiated.
Yes, no, he was in our executive session today. We are taking time to evaluate this situation. And we're gonna determine what the most appropriate path is going forward. What else can I say?
That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
You should say, we talked to him this morning, he's gonna try to get some answers to us about exactly what he.
Right. We're trying to find out all we can as well.
Just next step.
One back here.
Yes.
Good afternoon. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak. My name is Ruth Jacoby and I live in Riverbend. A couple things I wanted to mention. First of all, kudos to those on the board who decided this was not an appropriate time to make a decision about the bus. Thank you for speaking up. It seems like we don't have enough information. Questions were raised that I didn't hear good answers to, and that makes me wonder why it was even being brought to a vote today. I did check with the county about bus service, and I was told by an individual that they are really expanding their services. However, at this point, no great details, so we don't know what they will be offering a month or 3 months from now. And I think it would not be wise to make a decision about the bus service until we know what the county will do for us. A sideline to that is that if they provide a bus service to us, it will not come building to building, it will come to a central point. And so as their program expands, I think that's something important for us to have some information about if we would make a decision based on what the county was offering. I do have another note. Oh, I'm just amazed that the issue of the bus came to a vote, almost came to a vote, without us really knowing exactly how much we're saving by going from 4 days to 3 days. I didn't hear any details on that. So board, you have a lot of work to do before any decision is made on this. My opinion only, but thank you. And the third thing, someone mentioned the fountain earlier in the meeting. And I was just curious if anyone has any idea how much money we have spent on the fountain down at Magnolias. What benefit is it to the community? I love fountains, I think they're beautiful. But how much have we spent on maintaining that fountain over the years, and how many bus trips would that fountain pay for? And which is a greater benefit to the community? Shutting down a fountain is not a cheap process, but when you look at what we have spent over that fountain, and no one ever seems to complain about it, and yet you're going to take away a vital amenity that was one of the factors in my deciding to move here in the first place, thinking, well, maybe someday I'm not going to be able to drive, but I can depend on a bus. And if a county bus comes to a central point and we have to go to that point to get on the bus, that means a lot of us can't go grocery shopping on rainy days. Because I cannot manage a lowlater and an umbrella. And there are a lot of other people who use the bus who are in the same position that I am. So I really hope that you take all these things into consideration as you get more details about the actual cost, the cost savings, and the benefit to our community. Thank you very much.
Yes, we are continuing the service as it currently exists for up to the next 3 months. And we are exploring a new transportation agreement. Hopefully it'll save some money. Any other, yes, Marie, you have 3 minutes, Marie.
So, from what I just heard, and I can hear it, on the bus, there's concession included. There's a feeling that it's needed for grocery shopping. You know, the bus was developed 20 years ago before Amazon, before Harris Teeter delivery. Things have changed a lot since COVID, and that's something to understand. And also, what concerns me is that I think a roadblock is that with 2 things. First, that I think the board really needs to organize a public communications forum, maybe bring them to a board meeting. So everyone can ask questions, because there's so many misconceptions. Like, for example, somebody said, they won't come door to door. Well, the paratransit program does come door to door. So I think if you have like invite them in for a annual monthly meeting, everybody has questions, you can clarify, because there's so many misconceptions at this point. Another thing that really bothers me and upsets me is this feeling that it's not convenient. And I've been hearing this for years. I remember being, maybe, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago, somebody said, I want an on-site physical therapist because it's not convenient for me to go outside the community. We have Loudon Physical Therapy just down the block, Best of Loudon. You have to make people understand that when they are asserting their own convenience, that means someone else pays for it. We have a lot of needs here. We have to run efficiently. Just take a look to the garage up there, how ugly it looks. It's 2 different colors, probably because we don't have the money to fix it. So we really need to run this community efficiently so that, you know, we can do more by, in this instance, tapping into the government funds that the programs that we pay for with our own taxes at both the state level. And that's it. I'm sorry for taking the time. Okay, thank you.
Any other, yes? Peggy?
Sitting and listening to all this discussion, maybe it's time for us to look into buying a new bus. I mean, we're spending $32 per unit. Well, wait, a new bus, I didn't say an old bus, a new bus on a 5-year payment plan. Maybe even at no percent interest, if we're an older community, maybe we could find that with a 5-year warranty of maintenance on it. I don't know, but we're spending what, 350,000 a year?
No.
Isn't it 32, somebody said $32 per unit per month?
No.
Not accurate?
No.
I'm sorry, then I was thinking the numbers, it seemed to me we could probably buy a new bus at that kind of rate. And as far as the planter, the fountain goes, how about asking the landscaper about what he could do to make it into a beautiful planter with perennials? That might be a pretty.
Not after we just spent 48,000 to make it into.
Instead of having to constantly maintain it, I think it might be a great project.
Will you drive the bus for us?
Somebody does. Oh, yeah, that's your free, okay.
Okay, any other hands other than, okay, then I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Everyone's.
Second.
Second, thank you, Don, all in favor? Thank you all for participating.
I'm sorry, that is for West.
Oh, yeah.
Get it
Just
back.
kind of jump in there.